Okay, picture this. It's Sunday afternoon. You are sitting at the head of a gorgeous mahogany dining table.
Mm-hmm.
The smell of slow-roasted beef is filling the room, and you cooked it perfectly, by the way. You look around, and there's your daughter, your son-in-law, your two grandkids. It looks like a Norman Rockwell painting.
It does. It looks like success. It looks like,
Yeah.
stability. But in the deep dive we're unpacking today, that image is a complete mirage.
It's a total mirage.
We are looking at a story where that Sunday dinner turns into a financial war zone.
A war zone is right. And usually when we talk about financial disasters, we're talking about, I don't know, crypto scams or market crashes.
Right.
But today, we are looking at something way more relatable and honestly way more terrifying because it happens inside the house. We're talking about the bank of mom and dad and what happens when the customers, your own family, start treating your generosity like a salary they're entitled to.
Exactly. We're digging into a saga revolving around a woman named Sarah. She's a retired nurse, a widow. And she faced a moment at that Sunday dinner that triggered what I can only describe as a forensic audit of her entire family life.
And just a heads up for everyone listening. This isn't just a drama story, though trust me, the tea is piping hot.
Oh, it is.
Our mission today is to really unpack the mechanics of financial enabling. How does a family rack up nearly $1 million in handouts without seemingly realizing it?
Right.
And more importantly, if you find yourself in Sarah's shoes, how do you stop the bleeding without destroying the relationships forever?
It's a masterclass in setting boundaries. But to understand the solution, we have to endure the catalyst.
Right. So take us back to that table. Sarah is there. Her son-in-law, Michael, is there. And the vibe isn't exactly warm and fuzzy, is it?
Oh, no. Michael is really feeling himself. He's just landed a big corporate promotion. He's drinking a very expensive red wine, which, notably, Sarah brought as a gift.
Of course she did.
He's spitting the glass, leaning back in his chair at the head of the table, and he decides this is the moment to establish his dominance.
Which is a bold move when you're eating someone else's roast beef at a table they probably paid for.
Incredibly bold. He looks at Sarah, his mother-in-law, and asks, quote, "What's it like being old and useless?"
I literally gasped when I read that in the source material. Old and useless. It's so aggressive.
It wasn't just a slip of the tongue. He didn't stop there. He started comparing her to himself. He called her a failure compared to his young brain and his high-powered corporate future.
Oh my God.
He essentially mocked her for having no important things to do while he and the real grown-ups run the world.
The irony is suffocating. He's sitting at a table she subsidized, drinking her wine, in a house she's helping float, calling her useless.
Yeah.
But here's what I really want to know. Did the family check him? Did his wife say, "Hey, that's my mom"?
That's the tragedy. His wife, Emma Sarah's daughter, and the grandkids, they giggled.
Yeah.
They laughed along. It was normalized disrespect. They were so comfortable with Sarah's presence and her support that they ceased to value her as a person.
And that was the snap, right? That was the moment the Bank of Grandma closed its doors.
Sarah didn't scream. She didn't flip the table or throw the wine. She just asked one very specific, very dangerous question.
Okay.
She said, "How does it feel knowing this old lady won't be paying for your fancy life anymore?"
That is the nuclear option. I love it.
Absolute silence. Michael turned white. And Sarah didn't wait for an answer. She got up, left the dinner, drove straight to her home office, and locked the door.
And this is where we shift from a family drama to a financial deep dive.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
Sarah wasn't just a grandmother. She was a retired nurse.
And anyone who has a nurse in the family knows they document everything. If it's not charted, it didn't happen.
Precisely. Sarah applied that medical discipline to her finances. She had files dating back to 2012, right after her husband David passed away. She spent that entire night performing a forensic audit on her own generosity.
Let's get into these numbers because this is where the insight really hits.
Mm.
We often talk about lifestyle creep, where your spending rises to meet your income.
Right.
But this is different. This is dependency creep.
It is. It's almost a perfect case study in what sociologists call economic outpatient care. It's when parents provide substantial financial support to adult children, which statistically often leads to those children being less wealthy and self-sufficient in the long run.
Wow.
So Sarah opened the files, blue for housing, green for cars, yellow for schools, and the math was horrifying.
Walk us through the big ticket items, because $833,000 spoiler alert on the total doesn't disappear in $20 bills.
No, it disappears in structural subsidies. Start with housing. Since 2012, Sarah had been paying the mortgage. That was $2,200 a month.
Which over 12 years.
Is 144 months. That is $316,800 just to keep a roof over their head.
300 grand on just the house.
And remember, Michael thinks he's the big provider this whole time. He's walking around thinking he's crushing it, but his biggest expense is being covered by the woman he just called useless.
That's a massive blind spot. But then there were the cars. I remember reading about a fancy black car Michael drove.
The status symbol. Sarah was paying the lease on Michael's luxury sedan and the loan on Emma's van. Initially, it was about $850 a month.
Okay.
But later, she co-signed and helped pay for a $55,000 vehicle upgrade. In total, the transportation category was tens of thousands of dollars.
It's incredible how the necessities just kept expanding. And then you have the grandkids. Private school isn't cheap.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We're talking private education with swimming pools and language immersion programs, about $18,000 a year per child.
Whoa.
Over 12 years, plus summer camps, elite sports leagues. That education category alone hit $288,000.
It's startling. And then there's the lifestyle category, which I found the most infuriating because housing and school, okay, you can argue those are needs, but lifestyle.
This is the frivolous spending. Vacations to Disney World, a European cruise, ski trips, high-end kitchen renovations.
Wow.
Sarah found receipts totaling $55,000 just for things that Michael and Emma posted on social media as proof of their success.
So that night, Sarah hits the equals button on her calculator. What is the final damage?
$833,800.
Nearly $1 million. That is generational wealth gone. That is a retirement fund gone.
Gone. And what's critical to understand here is the psychology of the creep. It didn't start as $1 million demand. It started with a promise Sarah made to her dying husband, David. He asked her to make sure Emma was safe.
And that's the trap, isn't it? Safe is a moving target.
Exactly. In 2012, safe meant helping with a few mortgage payments while they got on their feet. But by 2015, the thank you cards stopped coming.
Ooh.
The temporary help solidified into a permanent expectation. They stopped asking if she could pay. They just forwarded the bills.
It's the phenomenon of hedonic adaptation. You get used to a certain quality of life, and you forget that someone else is paying for it. You treat a gift like a paycheck.
Precisely. So Sarah sees this number, $833,800, and realizes she hasn't been helping them. She's been crippling them.
She's been funding their delusion.
Yes.
So Monday morning rolls around. Michael probably thinks Sarah's just cooling off. He probably thinks the checks are still going to clear, right?
Yeah. He couldn't have been more wrong. Sarah woke up with cold resolve. She didn't call to yell. She called the bank.
Oh, wow.
She canceled every single automatic transfer. Mortgage, canceled. Insurance, canceled. Private school tuition, canceled. She went down the list like a surgeon cutting out necrotic tissue.
I can only imagine the chaos on the receiving end.
It was immediate. Emma called her mother in a panic because the mortgage payment bounced. And her reaction is so telling of that mindset we discussed. She said, "But you thought I'd keep paying forever."
Not thank you for paying for so long, just confusion.
Genuinely confused, not grateful for the past, but entitled to the future.
And Michael, the young brain, the corporate climber.
He went on the offensive. This is a classic defense mechanism. He called Sarah and accused her of destroying the family over a tantrum.
A tantrum?
He even threatened legal action.
Wait, hold on. He threatened to sue his mother-in-law because she stopped giving him free money.
He did. He claimed there were implied verbal contracts that she would support them. Now, legally, that's shaky ground at best, but it shows his mindset. He viewed her generosity as a debt she owed him.
So they storm over to her house, the living room standoff. This is the showdown.
They demand she restore the payments. And this is where Sarah uses the data. She doesn't argue feelings. She argues math. She pulls out the calculator and reads the number. $833,800.
How do you even argue with that?
Michael tried. He claimed it was impossible, that they never asked for that much.
Uh-huh.
And Sarah hit him with the most cutting truth of the entire saga. She said, "You never asked because you expected it automatically."
That's the definition of entitlement. You don't ask for air. You just breathe it. He didn't ask for the money, he just spent it.
Exactly. Sarah gives them the ultimatum. She tells them to figure it out. She says, "I want you to figure out how to live on the money you actually make." And she kicks them out.
So the subsidy is gone. We enter the collapse phase. Does the fancy life hold up to market forces?
It evaporates. This is what we call the domino effect in financial planning. Their lifestyle was leveraged entirely on Sarah's cash flow. Without it, they were insolvent within days.
Give us the breakdown. How bad did it get?
First, the house. They received a foreclosure notice almost immediately.
Wow.
It turns out they were already behind on the parts they were supposed to pay. They had 30 days to come up with over $9,000 in back payments and fees.
And the status symbols, the cars.
The repo company came from Michael's luxury sedan.
Oof.
He was forced to downgrade to a 12-year-old Honda Civic.
That is a visible slice of humble pie for the neighbors to see.
And Emma, who hadn't worked since 2012 because Sarah was funding her stay-at-home lifestyle, had to face a very cold job market.
Right. A 12-year resume gap is brutal.
It is. She couldn't get a corporate role. She ended up taking a job at a grocery store scanning items for a lever at $12 an hour.
That's a massive shift. But I want to touch on the social aspect. You mentioned Michael tried to control the narrative.
He did. This is a tactic often called Darvo deny, attack and reverse victim and offender. He went to the local pub, O'Malley's, and told everyone Sarah was punishing them, committing financial abandonment.
Unbelievable.
He tried to paint himself as the victim of a vindictive old woman.
Did the community buy it?
Briefly. Sarah's friends, Helen, Uncle Jim, Mrs. Garcia, started confronting her. One neighbor, Linda Murphy, actually tried to publicly shame Sarah in the street.
Oh, I bet Sarah loved that.
Sarah simply offered to show Linda the receipts.
Yes.
She said, "Would you like to see the $833,000 ledger?" As soon as she offered transparency, the gossip stopped dead.
Because you can't argue with that.
You can argue with a story. You can't argue with $1 million receipt.
So the truth is out. Emma is bagging groceries. Michael is driving a beat-up Honda. The house is days away from foreclosure. This is rock bottom.
It is. There's a heartbreaking detail where the neighbors can hear Michael and Emma screaming at each other. The kids, Jake and Sophie, are terrified they're going to be homeless.
Yeah.
But war zone Sarah predicted finally arrived.
But in addiction recovery, and let's be honest, this was an addition to easy money rock bottom, is where the change happens.
Correct. Michael, broken and exhausted, goes to visit Sarah alone. The arrogance is gone. He admits to her that he never earned the house or the status. It was all a mirage. He asks if there is a way forward.
Now, Sarah has a plan, but this is the crucial part for our listeners. It wasn't a bailout. It was a conditional deal.
This is the model for anyone dealing with this issue. She separated the needs from the wants. She told him, "I will pay for the children."
Okay.
She would cover school, clothes, medical, and college savings for Jake and Sophie, directly to the providers.
So the innocent parties, the kids, are protected.
Right. But for the adults, zero. She told them she would pay nothing for their mortgage, their cars, or their insurance. They had to survive on their own income.
And there was a price for this deal, wasn't there? A social price.
Yes. Sarah demanded public rehabilitation of her reputation. She wanted a letter to the newspaper, social media posts, and face-to-face apologies to the neighbors Michael had lied to at the pub.
Some people might hear that and think it sounds vindictive. Kiss the ring.
I can see why it would sound that way, but I disagree. I think it's about accountability. Michael used his social standing to weaponize the community against her.
Good point.
She was forcing him to own his narrative. If you want the help, you have to tell the truth. You can't live a lie on her dime anymore.
Did they take the deal?
Michael initially refused out of pride. He said, "I won't humiliate myself."
Of course.
But then Emma did the math. Their combined income, his salary plus her grocery store wages, was about $5,400 a month. Their expenses without Sarah were way higher. They literally could not survive.
They had no choice.
They had 18 hours until the foreclosure deadline.
So it was pride versus shelter.
And shelter won. They went to Sarah's house.
That must have been an incredibly tense room.
It was. Michael stood before the family, his wife, his kids, and Sarah, and apologized. He admitted he took her help and turned it into entitlement. He apologized to his children for letting them think he was the one providing everything.
That's a hard thing for a father to do, to deconstruct his own hero myth in front of his kids.
It is. But that honesty broke the cycle. Sarah wrote one last check, an emergency payment to stop the foreclosure, and then she handed the responsibility over. She said a line that I think sums up the entire episode. Gratitude doesn't work backwards.
Gratitude doesn't work backwards. Let's unpack that. What does she mean?
She means you can't retroactively be grateful for things you felt entitled to at the time. You have to start fresh. You can't fix the past 12 years of ingratitude by just saying thanks now. You can only build gratitude from zero starting today.
So we have a snapshot of the family 4 months later. What does the new normal look like?
It looks healthy. Emma was promoted to assistant manager at the store. She's actually good at it. Michael is strictly budgeting. They are saving for a smaller, more affordable house because they realize they can't afford this Sarah mansion.
And the relationship.
The grandkids presented Sarah with handmade thank you cards, real ones. The family attends monthly dinners now. But here is the key difference. They go for the company, not for the check.
That's the transformation.
Exactly. Sarah wasn't trying to get revenge. She was trying to spark competence. By cutting them off, she actually forced them to grow up. The punishment was the catalyst for them becoming functional, proud adults.
Right. Michael lost the fancy car, but he gained the ability to look himself in the mirror and know he's paying for his own life.
And that raises the big question for everyone listening.
Yeah, let's bring this home, because obviously most of us aren't giving our in-laws $833,000. But the dynamic of helping versus enabling is universal.
It really is.
You see it with parents paying rent for 30-year-olds or partners covering debts repeatedly.
It is universal. The line between helping someone up and holding them up so they never have to use their own legs is very, very thin. Sarah crossed it, realized it, and the step back.
And the cost of stepping back was high pain, humiliation, public gossip. But the payoff was a family that actually functions.
And a dinner table where, I suspect, no one is calling Grandma useless anymore.
Definitely not. She's the MVP most valuable provider, but now she's providing wisdom, not just cash.
Absolutely.
So here is our final thought for you to chew on today. We often view generosity as an unalloyed good. We think, I have it, so I should give it. But Sarah's story forces us to ask a harder question. At what point does your generosity rob someone of their dignity? At what point does paying the bill prevent someone from knowing the value of earning it?
Sarah said gratitude doesn't work backwards. Maybe it's time to check your own receipts, financial or emotional, and see if you're investing in someone's growth or just purchasing their dependency.
Check your receipts, everybody. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.